Hello, in this video we would like to show you how to use web forms in PDF Generator API to collect data and automatically generate professional PDF documents. Manual data entry and document creation are time-consuming and often lead to mistakes. Our web forms simplify these tasks by automating data capture and document generation, saving your team time and reducing errors, all without any coding required. In this tutorial, you will learn how to create a web form that gathers user input and produces a PDF document based on a custom template designed in our editor. Let's get started. To create a web form that generates a document, you need to have a template. The template serves as a layout that defines where the data entered by users in the form will appear in the final PDF document. If you don't have a template yet, don't worry. You can easily create one using our intuitive drag-and-drop editor. Just head over to the Templates page and click the New Template button to design a template that fits your specific needs. If you already have a template, you can upload it instead. Click the arrow next to the New Template button and select Import from PDF. After selecting one of these options, you have the option to upload JSON data if you have some, which can make mapping the required data inputs easier. However, this step is optional and can be skipped. You will then be redirected to the PDF Generator API editor, where you can arrange elements, add text fields, images, and other components so that the final document meets your exact requirements. To learn more about working with the editor and its components, please visit our support portal, where you will find many helpful articles and videos to guide you through every step. For this video, we've pre-prepared the layout of a KYC template, which we'll use to demonstrate how to properly map the data inputs for KYC form. In this form, we'll be collecting several types of information, starting with general customer data, followed by details about all of the customer's occupations and activities, then checking whether the person is a politically exposed person or not, and finally obtaining a signed confirmation from the customer stating that the provided information is accurate. While we could start mapping the individual data inputs from here, it's usually easier and more efficient to do it during the web form creation. So, let's move on to creating the web form. To create a new form, go to the Forms tab and click the New Form button. If you already have an editable PDF, you can also import it. Simply upload your existing PDF with editable fields, and it will be automatically converted into an interactive web form. After selecting New Form, you'll be taken to the Form Builder, where you can create or modify your web form. Here, you can configure all the essential settings, including the form name, the template used for generating the document after submission, and the title, introduction, and outro message of the form. You can also decide what happens once the form is completed, such as saving the document, allowing it to be downloaded, or sending the collected data and the generated PDF to an external service using an HTTP request. The most important section is at the bottom, where you define the form fields. This is where you set up the input elements, such as text fields or checkboxes, and configure their labels, IDs, default values, and validation rules. Now, let's head to the top of the Form Builder and begin creating our KYC form. The first step is to enter a name for the form, which will be used to save and identify it within your PDF Generator API account. In our case, we'll name it KYC form. In the next step, you can select a template to be used for document generation. Simply open the drop-down menu and select the template you want to use. Here, we'll choose the KYC template prepared earlier. If you only need to collect data without generating a document, you can select the No Template option. Title, introduction, and outro are important elements that help guide users through the form. The title appears at the very top and clearly states the purpose of the form. For this example, we'll set the title to KYC form for individuals. The introduction allows you to provide any necessary instructions or important information users should know before they start filling out the form. Finally, the outro message is shown after submission to confirm that the form was successfully submitted and, if needed, to provide further guidance or next steps. With the title, introduction, and outro in place, the next step is to configure the actions that should be triggered after the form is submitted. In this example, we'd like the generated document to be saved, and we also want to give the user the option to download it right after submitting the form. Keep in mind that saved documents are stored in the document storage of your PDF Generator API account for 30 days, after which they are automatically deleted. Now that we've configured the basic form settings and actions, let's move on to creating the form fields for our KYC form. Form fields define how each input in your form looks and functions. For each field, you can customize the label, which is the text shown above or inside the field to guide users, the type, which controls what kind of data the field accepts, such as text, number, date, image, and more, and the field name, which is a unique identifier used to match submitted data to your template or identify it in collected form responses. You can also set a default value that appears when the form loads but can be changed by the user, and mark the field as required to ensure it must be filled out before the form can be submitted. Let's create our first form field by starting with the first name. We'll set the label to first names and choose text as the field type. For the field name, we'll use first name, which will later map to our document template. We won't set a default value here, and because this information is mandatory for our KYC form, we'll make sure to mark the field as required. Once we've created our first form field, we'll save the form and try mapping it into the template. After saving, we reopen the form. And next to the Save button, we now have two additional options available. We'll click on Save and Edit Template to open the document template linked to the form. And as you can see, the first name field we just created is already loaded in the sidebar as a text field, matching the type we selected. We can drag and drop it anywhere in the template. But since we're working with a prepared template and want the value to appear inside the table we inserted from the Components tab, we'll double-click the desired cell and choose Insert Data field to place it there. Now that we've correctly mapped our first form field, let's save the template and then try filling out the form to check if everything works as expected. To access the form, click the Save and Share button. This will instantly copy its URL to your clipboard, ready to be pasted and opened in your browser. Once the form loads, you can see the title and introduction we set up, along with the single form field created so far. After filling out the field, we click Submit. And our custom outro message appears along with a link to download the generated document. When we open the document, we can see that the name entered in the form has been successfully populated in our PDF. Now that we've successfully tested the connection between our form and the template, we can return to the form builder to add more form fields of various types. The next information we want to collect in our KYC form is the user's last name, personal identification code, and date of birth. We'll start by adding another form field named Last Names, keeping the type set to text, just like we did for first names. We'll choose a matching field name and mark it as required. We'll follow the same steps for the personal identification code. And date of birth field. But in these cases, we'll set the type to integer and date respectively. This way, the personal identification code field will accept only numeric values, and the date of birth field will provide a date picker for selecting the correct date. Another form field we want to add is country of birth. In this case, we'll make sure the user selects their country from a drop-down menu to ensure consistent and accurate country names and to avoid input errors. To add a drop-down menu, set the field type to select, which will display an additional field where you need to enter the options as comma-separated strings. We've already prepared the list of countries we want to include, separated by commas, so we simply paste it into this field. We then assign the desired field name and set the default value to Estonia, as this will be the most common country of birth for our expected form respondents. Other fields, such as nationality, personal email, mobile phone, residence address, and contact address, will create in the same way as the similar field types we've already set up. With these new fields set up, we can now return to the template editor to map them to our template. Once again, we simply double-click the desired cell in our table and insert the corresponding field using Insert Data field. With these fields mapped, we can switch back to the Form Builder to create the final set of fields we want to include in our form. The last fields we want to add are occupation status, previous occupations, whether the person is politically exposed, and finally a signature field to confirm the accuracy of the information provided. For the occupation status field, we assume that a respondent may have multiple occupations at the same time, like being employed while also being a student. To accommodate this, we'll choose the multi-select field type, which allows users to select multiple options in the form. Just like with the select type, the multi-select field also requires you to enter the available options as comma-separated strings in the options field. For example, we'll add options such as employment, student, retired, and unemployed. When the form is submitted, this field's data will be stored as a list containing all the selected values. In our KYC form, we would also like to capture multiple details about each previous employment the user might have had. To do this, we'll use the table field type, which allows us to collect structured, row-based data. First, we need to choose a field name for the table. This name will act as the identifier for the array of data created by the table, which we will later use to iterate over and display the information within our document's table component. In our table form field, we'll collect 3 details for each job: position, employer, and address. Each of these fields will be set as a text type, and all will be marked as required to ensure we gather complete information for every employment entry. Regarding whether the person is politically exposed, we'll set the label as a question. For example, are you a politically exposed person? We will use a select field type again, with the options yes and no, and set the default value to no. The last element we want to include in our form is the respondent's signature. This serves as a confirmation that all the information provided is accurate and truthful. We'll add a signature field type, which allows the respondent to draw their signature directly within the form. The label will be set to "I confirm that the information in this declaration is true and complete." We will set the field name to signature and make the field required, so the form cannot be submitted without the respondent's signature. Once we have created and configured the final fields, we can go back to the editor and map the remaining fields to our template. Let's start by mapping the occupation status field, which we set up in the form as a multi-select. To display multiple selected values from this field in the document, simply inserting the field name in the desired location is not enough. We need to create a more complex expression so that the list of data is iterated and each selected value is shown. In our case, we would like to display the selected values as a bulleted list in the document in our prepared text component. In the editor, every expression must be placed between curly brackets and percent symbols, with available functions and supported operators included inside. For more information about our expression language, including functions and operators, please visit our support portal through Help Support Portal and select Expression Language. In our case, we will need to use the join function, which concatenates field values using a specified separator, along with the iterate function to loop through our list of data. We start by inserting the join function and set the delimiter to \n, which represents a line break. Next, we insert the iterate function and place our occupation status list inside the curly brackets. After a comma, we add the values to iterate over inside single quotation marks. In our case, we first add a bullet point as static text inside double quotation marks. Then use the concatenation operator and add value, which represents the default name for the selected values from the multi-select field. Finally, we close both brackets, and our expression is complete. The next step is setting up the table for all of the respondents' occupations. In the table field, we have three fields: position, employer, and address. Together, these three fields form a single record in our occupations array, and there can be multiple occupation records for one respondent. We want to display these records in a table, which allows us to iterate through the respondent's entries and automatically add as many rows as the respondent has provided occupations. The setup is very simple and can be done in two ways. If you already have a table in your template, you can first click on it and enter the name of your table field in the table's properties. Then, insert the individual fields from the array into the table cells, just like we did with regular text fields. Alternatively, the easier option is to drag your table field directly from the Data Fields section into the template. This will automatically create a table with the array already assigned, along with all of its fields. The next step is configuring the radio buttons in the template, where we want to indicate whether the respondent is a politically exposed person or not. The checked state is controlled by a Boolean value, using either true or false, or numeric equivalents 1 or 0, to indicate whether the component should appear checked or unchecked. In this case, we will create a simple expression for each radio button using ternary operators, checking whether our field has exposed is equal to yes or no. For the first radio button, we insert an expression that checks if has exposed equals no. Then the button will be checked, that is 1. Otherwise, it will be unchecked, that is 0. We then copy this expression to the second radio button and simply change the condition so that it checks for yes instead of no. The very last element we need to set up is the signature field. To display the signature in the document, we simply use the Signature component from the Components tab and assign it the corresponding field name Signature via Insert Data. Once this is in place, our form and template are fully connected, and we can now test the entire setup to see everything in action. We'll save our template to ensure all changes are preserved. Then copy the link to our form and fill it out completely. Finally, we add the signature and submit the form. After sending it off, we open the generated document and see that every single detail is in place. Our lists of data, the table with all occupations, the radio buttons, and the signature are all filled in perfectly just the way we set it up. Everything works seamlessly and appears exactly as expected. And that's it. We've successfully created a web form and connected it to our custom PDF template. Now you can do the same. Build your own forms, link them with your templates, and let PDF Generator API handle the rest. It's quick, it's easy, and it can save you hours of manual work. We hope you found this tutorial helpful. If you have any questions or need further assistance, don't hesitate to reach out to us. We're here to help.